What's up, y'all? KL Smith here, co-founder of System 17, author of the System 17 comic, and I wanted to start author notes. And what better way to do it than to start with issue 1, as opposed to hopping into issue 1 and doing it. Since this is an origin story, it happens to occur before the events of issue 1. It just made so much sense. So we're going to do page by page because I think there's a lot to talk about in each page as it pertains to what I was thinking about, some of the inspiration for the art that the artist Kevin Mellon was able to bring to life, and either from my sketches or references, and we'll go from there. We'll see how this goes. We pick up in making the morph, and you are thrown into West Bank Village. West Bank Village had several inspirations, one of which was while I was traveling to the Canary Islands, I saw a lot of cities kind of tucked in or on the side of either like a valley of mountains. It's very mountainous there, rocky terrain. And it reminded me a lot of either movies or pictures I had seen from favelas out of Latin America. And so I kind of sat with that for a little while, and then it kind of dawned on me almost like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks after I'd been there, of like, oh my gosh, it would be great if there was like these mega skyscrapers and the equivalent of what we saw at the side of what I saw on the side of mountains on these huge mega skyscrapers. And that was the inspiration for West Bank Village. It was a combination of traveling and just thinking about the futuristic setting of True City, which is set probably like 250, 300 years in the future. But it's not necessarily apparent that you're that far in the future until you start reading more of the story and seeing some of the things there. So that was the original inspiration for what you're seeing in that very first panel. That's West Bank Village, the inspiration behind the buildings and what you're kind of looking at on the side of those. Now, in those huge mega skyscrapers, the people there can basically buy things. They can get groceries, they can buy clothes, they can do all of the things. So they don't really need to leave. So there's not really a lot of aspirations to leave West Bank, which I would say is not necessarily the wealthiest place in True City. It's not dangerous or anything like that, but it's certainly not the lifestyle that you see in issue 1 going over to Calais, that university. So after we get through talking about the setting, you are inside of Xavier's room. Xavier is the main character of the story. We see a lot of him in the first issue, along with the cast of all of the main characters. But because we are making the morph, you're seeing some of the beginning stages of what he was thinking about as a designer. Now, he's more or less a prodigy, and he's really coming into his own, and he doesn't really know the events that'll happen later in the story. But we're seeing some of the inspirations right now for the morph hoodie. So he's talking about Ram inspired. So specifically on the horns, if you look at the morph hoodie, there's these 2 lines that go down in a V shape, starting from the bottom hem and coming all the way up around the shoulders, where that kind of ram look from the horns comes up and V's out. And he talks about strength and courage and what that means to him from that specific animal. So it's more of an instinctual design for him. And the multi-style facet of it, which you don't see here, is in that bottom hem, which maybe we'll talk about in another situation in case, probably when we get to issue 1. And then you talk about some of the colors. These are just some of his favorite colors: ash red, greenstone, and steel shadow. Now, these colors specifically have a more of a gray tone to them in general when we talk about like color palettes. And that's more of his fascination with System 17 in the story and the things he's seen that specific forge create and use from a color palette perspective. So that's more or less the first page. And then in page 2, we pick up and see a little bit more of his personal life.